in Darwin's mind as he spent 8 long years examining the inner structures of the barnacle, the working of ecological webs and the governing importance of trophic cascades, all these ways of understanding the pattern of life first emerged from studying what was happening to animals and plants between the tides. It is where you can look beyond your own reflection and find the marvellous an inch beneath your nose. The soul wants to be wet, Heraclitus said in Ephesus 2,500 years ago. That is the impulse this book follows. It began for me in springtime, 30 years ago. I had not long known Sarah, who was soon to be my wife, when she took me to a place she had known since she was a girl. Her family had been coming there for years, far out on the west coast of Scotland, in Argyll, where David Balfour, in Kidnapped, had found the sea running deep into the mountains and winding about their roots, an intercut geography as serrated as a comb. Even on the map, land and sea there is as interlaced as the fingers of 2 hands. We stayed the night about 10 miles away in a small guest house on the shores of Loch Sunat. A polite atmosphere, cloths on the tables, charming, smiling service at dinner by the man who owned the hotel, a retired biologist who dipped the end of his tie in the parsnip soup as he set it down in front of us. No one in the dining room said a word. The butter came on silver scallops, the oat cakes were in their own airtight tin, and we whispered our secrecies over the venison and the crumble. Next morning, up early through the Atlantic oak woods, radiating their springtime green. Late May is the moment of perfection, when the West Highlands start to acquire that burnish and glow which coats them for a few weeks at the beginning of summer. Cuckoos in the alders, black caps in every other tree, pied wagtails down on the wet rocks, the hollow notes of other, more distant cuckoos sounding as if they were calling through cupped hands. Everywhere the shadowed hyacinth blue of the bluebells and their scent. Up out of the woods and on to the top of the hills, the whole riven province of Morven, a mountainous fin of Scotland 80,000 acres wide and almost entirely surrounded by sea lochs, was laid out below us. We skirted the shoulders of the mountains and dropped to the pastures of a salmon river, past the freshwater loch at its head, where the water slid out over the sandy beach, braided like silk, looking like whiskey, and then along a heron-haunted shore to the sea. 3 miles to go. At last we rounded a corner, past an 18th-century steading now used to shear and dag the sheep, and as the track turned, the bay appeared below, wide and tall, a world in itself, a half-circle of dark cliffs and wood-thickened slopes, the rim of those cliffs about 700 feet above the sea, waterfalls dropping over them at intervals and through the woods to the rocky shore. A track hairpinned steeply down under the old lime trees. It felt, as all good places feel, hidden from the world, enormous and strangely private. The bay looked out to the south, to the hills in Mull. To the southeast, 7 miles away, the single white finger of the lighthouse on Lismore. Behind it, the hills above Oban. This was the geometry. Away from the wind, a cliff-backed semicircle of a bay, about a mile across and reaching half a mile in from the waters of the Sound, with strongly marked headlands at each side, the one to the west made of basalt, that to the east of limestone. The head of the bay is lined with a dark beach, black basalt sand, the ground-down lavas from a volcano in Mull, lighted only with a scatter of broken cockles, an occasional bit of sea glass, the bottom of a bottle, some old limpets and mussels. Across it a small burn emerges from the flag irises of a bog, and makes its way in zigzags that change.